and welcome to the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from 104.9. I'm Paul Kretschmer. My guest on today's broadcast is a repeat visitor from other visits here on the Journal broadcast. Dr. Julie Garza is based in Florida and has something to say to us about how we take care of ourselves.
I would say pretty much everyone that walks into my office says this.
Is that right? Is that all that unusual considering COVID-19, or are we perhaps more aware of it now than we normally are?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think some people just, got home and got a little lazy and, took a vacation of sorts, and other people took it as an opportunity to actually say, hey, we've got this time. The Monopoly board has been upset. Why don't we reset this and do what we've been, threatening to do about our health for a long time? So I see it a bit of both ways. I have a lot of patients that have taken the opportunity to actually improve what they didn't have, quote unquote, time for.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, that people who often say, that's something I'll get around to it one of these days, or that's something when I have nothing else to do, or something that I must do when it's raining outside and I know I have to tackle something like an impossible closet on the inside, and that's the day I'm going to do it finally.
That's me. I've been tackling everything.
Yeah, have you been? Yeah, me too. To a greater and lesser degree, I also share my home with a wife and two dogs, one of who's a Rottweiler and another one that's a Havanese, so they chase each other around the house a lot, and sometimes it's hard to get things done when you've got all those paws underfoot, so to speak.
So it's probably time to refinish the floors.
Probably, yes. You got me on that one, I'm afraid. As far as doing something about eating habits, how much time does it take? You mentioned something along the lines of 30 days. I hadn't really thought of it in those terms before, but if you could enlighten me as to why you think a plan that runs that length of time can reset me so that I come out a month from now handling myself better in that regard than I ever have before.
All right. So I've been a doctor for 29 years, and I've handled tens of thousands of patients, and most of them come with the intention to want to improve. So I take people who have a willingness, and when they come in, I give them some tips. No more coffee, no more tea, no more pop. Drink 8 glasses of water a day, and eat a ton of protein. And the reason being is protein is one of the major ingredients that we need to make healthy cells and keep our weight at a good level and have energy and sleep well and keep our hormones balanced. And so we're supposed to be making enzymes to be breaking down all these types of foods that we eat. And a lot of times we reach for the carbs when we're hungry and, have a few chips and pretzels and, bread items and things like that. And we pile our plates full of food and we do all these things that, the body just says, wow, this is just too much. You're obviously not eating for health. You're just eating because you're hungry. And we should be able to break down these foods to get the nutrition from the food. Well, we're not able to do that in general. And so we're missing a heavy amount of nutrition, which is why we don't have the energy and we're sick and, we have cramps and we don't sleep well and we, are irritable. And so those, number of things that I just mentioned is sort of the very basic of what you need to do to sort of get this thing rolling in correctly and get the body reset.
How much of this eating is being done on autopilot when we're doing something else like reading, which is what I do, or watching television like some other people I know do?
I always go back to what were your grandparents doing? I mean, they actually had to eat 3 meals a day, and they sat down and had meals. So when they're doing this, they were socializing, they were taking their time, it was an event in the day, and if we sort of knock out all our electronics and throw out the TV for the moment and put down the book, we're actually eating to actually enjoy the food. So you slow it down a bit, you enjoy what you're eating, you might, not just eat standing up at the counter, you might, be cooking things that you say, wow, I'm going to prepare this and actually enjoy the food and chew a little longer and, not just rush through because, we are all on a very fast pace, taking kids everywhere, going to work. We have, a way different lifestyle than our grandparents. And this COVID has, reset this a bit where we actually have more time to actually rethink how we're eating.
If someone's digestion is bad, how do you break down and absorb the nutrients needed to build up their digestive systems so that they can actually do that properly? I ask that because I've spent some time on and off over the years visiting New York City. I only live about 2 hours away from there, and you go down the street in Manhattan, and there's any number of different places where it's just stand up and people literally wolf their food down.
I mean, it's, that's common in all of America. And the biggest thing that's happening with this is we're putting in food and we're not breaking it down to get nutrition. You can't sit into a bathtub of vitamins and expect to absorb them. So the only way we're ever going to make our bodies healthy is to actually get the nutrition from our food. Since we've gotten into lazy habits and fast foods and wolfing down the foods and, way too fast and not really putting food as a priority as far as what we're putting in, we don't make the digestive enzymes that we need to break down the protein, the carbs, the fats. And so I always recommend, and have for all the years that I've been a doctor, is to take a very high-quality digestive enzyme because you get the most bang for your buck. If you are taking a digestive enzyme, I use one called Absorbaid for my patients because it has all the aspects that will break down all the different types of foods. So if you want to stand up and eat and wolf down your food, take a couple of enzymes, you'll get more nutrition every time you eat. If you're, taking the time to prepare good foods and not eat a bunch of junk and, really make it from scratch, take an enzyme as well because all that time, money, and effort that it took to put it on your plate and finally digest it or put it in, you're going to get what you actually should from that meal, and you're going to have more energy. You're going to lose your little muffin top around your waistline. You're going to not look so pale and have dark circles around your eyes and just feel generally better.
Yeah, yeah. How much of what we eat in a hurry just ends up turning into fat because it doesn't get broken down otherwise properly?
Quite a bit. And the reason being is we eat a lot of toxic foods. So when we're eating a lot of, fatty foods and foods that don't really have nutrition, I call things unfood. There's food and unfood. You take a piece of fish, which has healthy enzymes and fats and protein and the things that the body needs, and you put that up against a box of French fries, and those French fries have, no protein, unhealthy fats, and so it's mass that's going in that makes you think that you're full, but there really is no nutrition, but you feel full, so you think, oh, good, I just had a meal and I feel great, as compared to actually eating quality food that you really can break down.
How often do we mix unfoods with foods like that unthinkingly or unknowingly so that we end up defeating the purpose and coming to a incorrect conclusion as you just outlined for us?
I mean, I think it has to do with how much are you actually home cooking in general. If you eat it out at a restaurant, as a general rule, we do get a little lazy and we do get the fries that we would never be eating at home and the different things that we sort of just selectively eat because we like it as compared to saying, let's just look at this menu and let's have, a chicken breast with some grilled vegetables on the side, which we would do at home. So I would say that a tremendous amount of people are eating just because they feel full and the taste buds are good as compared to eating something that they actually are getting nutrition from. And, I have a tremendous amount of unhealthy elderly people. And in a 30-day program, they've lost weight, they have energy, their sugars are down, they are less puffy, their legs aren't swollen, they feel a heck of a lot better, and it's simply because they're finally getting nutrients from their food.
You mentioned earlier a day in the past where people sat down at the table and as a family and meals were something of an occasion and they did socialize. I think I can vouch for that in that last night I made a home-cooked meal and I handed my wife her plate at the table there, and she said, now this is what I'm thinking of when I'm thinking about having dinner with you, not ordering out from the Chinese place down the street. And, there's the predictable reactions from takeout or delivery like that.
It's so true. And, if you're a certain age in this country, we do remember that all of our moms used to cook, and every meal was actually home cooked. It was a treat to go out and, McDonald's was a once a month thing. It was a treat. It wasn't something that you just did because you were too lazy to cook. We didn't have the luxury of too lazy to cook. we always had home-cooked meals. And you're right, this, type of lifestyle it takes, I would say, 20 to 25 minutes more in a day to actually home cook a meal. And now you actually can cook more than you actually were going to eat. You can have it tomorrow. You can have it for lunch. You can bring it to work. You can put it in Tupperware. You can eat it for breakfast if you're not a breakfast fan. And that is how I was raised. And, we had a heck of a lot of 5 healthy kids that, all of us cook for our children now. And it's just old school. Technology has changed. The world has changed. But, these human bodies are the same darn thing.
Yeah.
And, eating from scratch and eating from the perimeters of the actual grocery store, that's where the real food has the nutrition.
Well, that's certainly what I remember, and that's in spite of the fact that in the time I was growing up, which was in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, my parents both worked full-time, but we still had home-cooked meals at home, even if it meant Mom leaving something with directions for the responsible kid in the family. I won't mention who that might have been. Turning on the oven or starting to watch something carefully on the stovetop just in the last few minutes before she got home with Dad, and it was a wonderful experience. It wasn't like stopping at the burger place, eating something, and then 40 minutes later wondering if you'd eaten or not because you neither could remember what you'd eaten nor could you feel any difference in your body that told you that your blood sugar had risen and that you were satisfied.
It's totally true. And the other thing, and it sounds so strange, but the table was set, the silver was put out, the napkins were folded and put underneath the fork, and it was an actual event that brought the family together, and it was actually for sustenance and, real health, which we just took for granted because that's how it was. Now, these, young people they have all these places to order from and have it delivered, and, when you really think about why, the Chinese food tastes so much better than when you make it, what the heck did they put into it that makes it taste better than you can make it? And why is it that the chicken from, the grocery store on the rotisserie tastes better than the one that you can make in the oven? Well, there's got to be some weird added things that actually, make your taste buds think, wow, this is the best, as compared to, having a home-cooked meal. And when you start getting all that stuff out of your diet and you really do home cook, you realize how good broccoli does taste, how good chicken does taste, and it's amazing how your taste buds will actually, evolve into what it should be because there's real nutrition in the things that you're making at home.
Well, we're certainly eating our protein in my house, and we've also been emphasizing produce a lot lately, too. And it's nice having vegetables of all different shapes and sizes and colors and so on to complement what meat or fish we may put on our plate. For a listener who would like to know more information about what you have to share with people, you have contact points they can reach out to?
Yeah, there's an extremely great digestive enzyme called Absorbade. And Absorbade has all the different types of enzymes to break down the proteins, the fats, the carbohydrates. And it basically means every time you take this nutrient with a meal, you're going to get the best of the nutrition that you're putting onto your plate. So if you're going to eat well, great, take it. If you're going to not eat well, how it affects you is you actually have the ability to improve what you're getting from even not, eating the best that day. You can go to a website called naturesources.com, and you can find out about the Absorbade. And I mentioned this Absorbade Platinum because the platinum is like a digestive enzyme on steroids, and it also has all sorts of things to fight bacteria and viruses and toxins in the body so that it can break down those different proteins that the body is actually also trying to fight. So you can, look that up and find out why it's such a high-quality nutrient. And the only thing I've ever used in my 29 years is high-quality nutrients because it's silly to sell somebody something that isn't going to work. They can also call the 1-800 number, which is 1-800-827-7656.
Dr. Julie Garza, my guest today. For further information, call us at 860-346-1049. Opinions expressed are those of the participants, not necessarily those of the staff or management of the station. I'm Paul Kretschmer on the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from 104.9 WIHS.